It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Well, hello there. Howdy ho there. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman, as always. How are you? As any of you know who follow the show, we get lots and lots of music submissions from various music artists from around the world. And we thank you for that. We're always happy to listen to all the music we get and play what we can. Every once in a while, a track comes through that kind of grabs my attention. And as a fellow musician, I can't help but believe that this particular track was kind of written for us, because it's one of those tracks that a musician would sort of stop and listen to thinking, oh, those changes are interesting. That's different. Oh, like that bit. And we kind of dissect tracks that come through in our head because we understand the concept of how to put together a song. Well, this particular song that we're going to play for you today has just those elements. It's from a man named Jerome Lee. After reading through his bio, he is a veteran of the music industry. He's been around for a good number of years, and he is a singer-songwriter, recording artist, and he plays bass. He's worked with a lot of very notable musicians in the past and producers. This song is interesting because it, on the one hand, it's a feel-good song, but it also has this undercurrent of sort of relief, like heaving a sigh of relief. You know, you've been through something, had some struggle, had some conflict, and now you're kind of taking a break from it. And that's the sort of emotional response that was invoked in me by this particular track. So I don't know if everybody's going to have that same response or not, but we'll see. Following Jerome's track, we have Jill Ratliff, who is an author, executive coach, and leadership speaker with more than 20 years' experience. And her new book called Leadership Through Trust and Collaboration is what we'll be talking about. Very excited to have Jill on the show. For more information on Jill, go to her website at jillratliff, RATLIFF.com. And for more information on Jerome Lee, go to his website at jeromelee.net. So with that, here is Jerome Lee and his track called First Peace After the Rain.
Travel your path in life, encountering the call, living within your life, conquering has all the power to move you up and keep you on your way. Clouds will form and so keeps clarity at bay. When it comes down, making it sound, blocking good thoughts that you have made, hiding your joy, leaving your pain, shadowing your light, the light. Oh. Step out into the night, or day you feel is dawn, sauntering all about, directly into none. Never to rise again, no time now to descend. And if you're all alone, you can begin to mend. So it comes down, crashing with sound, clearing new thoughts for you to make, giving new steps for you to take, gathering your light. After the storm, earth met medicine made, stand in the peace, the first piece after the rain.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on The Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Love coffee, huh? But wait a minute. It seems like every time you finish a cup of coffee, you get all of these side effects along with it. Heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, acid reflux. As the world's first and only organic acid-free coffee, Tyler's Coffee is able to provide a healthier option in the solution for more than 100 million individuals who have sensitive stomachs or suffer from acid-related modalities. This is Tyler's acid-free coffee. Coffee without the consequences.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions. You're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Okay, please welcome to The Douglas Coleman Show, Jill Ratliff. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hey, Douglas. I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. You know, today must be leadership, speakers, and coach day because I just wrapped with somebody else who does seemingly the exact same thing. But the one thing that I've noticed is I've had several people on who call themselves leadership coaches and speakers. No two of them that I've interviewed pursue this or approach this issue in the same manner. So everybody's got their own spin on what they think is the right approach to this. But it begs the question, why is there such a void or a need for people who do what you do? Is leadership that bad in the United States in corporations?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the answer is yes, on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
And, what's the evidence of that? There's a lot of it, right? There's a incredible loss of trust in our leaders, not just in the corporate world, but, look at our government and our politics and, our religious institutions. I mean, we could just start lining them up, right?
Sure.
So business just happens to be the lane that I grew up in, but the subject and the relevancy of what does it even actually really mean to be a leader, and then what does it mean to any one individual person, and why would you do it? And then how do you do it really well? And I've spent my whole career trying to figure that out, right? I've been in Fortune 200 companies for 30 years, really looking at that question, human performance and potential. Like, how do we bring a group of people together to do something worth doing and to get some fantastical results? And how do we make it a fun, enjoyable process where everybody benefits? And the truth of it is we're not succeeding, right? We're not, because engagement rates are, if you believe the Gallup data, lower than they've been since Gallup started tracking it. And the absenteeism and the turnover and the, depression, and it's just, the data is everywhere that says, we're missing something. And so that's really, the lens I come into it from, is spending a lot of years thinking I knew what it was to develop leaders, and then watching and figuring out that so much of what we were doing wasn't actually working. So it was time to, create a new narrative and think differently about it. So that's kind of how I come to this.
So you're referring to employees and the environment of employees working in corporations when you're saying...
Yeah, I'm referring to the whole thing. Not just the whole thing. I mean, I work with a lot of CEOs and executive teams, and you know what? It's fascinating, because you would think that they've got it all together. You would think they're at the top of the shop. They're wealthy and successful, and they have achievements and accomplishments. And but I got to tell you that some at the top are less happy than some at the closest to the customer roles, or how we describe the bottom of the pyramid. So I think it's way beyond just the employees. Leadership is something we all need just to lead ourselves in our own lives, frankly. But if you raise your hand and you say, I want to be somebody that other people look to help guide them in a meaningful endeavor to achieve something worthwhile, then you have the burden not only of having to know how to lead yourself to that and be successful, happy, healthy, and successful in doing that, but how to help others get there too. So it's a double bogey. A lot of us haven't cracked the code on that yet.
Do you suppose that bad leadership does not necessarily equate to a bad bottom line? I mean, obviously companies are in the business to make money,
100%.
right? Yeah.
100%. That, there's a lot of organizations that have bad leadership that are extraordinarily profitable, and that's not really that surprising, because if you think about an individual person in life, right? What we all want is exactly the same. We want to be healthy, wealthy, loved and appreciated, and to have meaning and purpose in our lives, right? That's what we all want. And roll that all together. And why do we want that? It's because we think that's what will make us happy. And that really is the end game we're all shooting for. So that being said, I know a lot of people who are healthy and wealthy, but they're still not happy. And I know a lot of businesses that are profitable, but they're still not healthy businesses for people or the environment. So you can succeed dramatically in one area of life, like success, financial success, and you can be just completely out of balance and miserable in other areas. It happens all the time.
Yeah, I've got the opposite side of the coin to that, particularly with performing artists. And I had a great quote from a musician friend of mine who said, it's amazing how successful one can be in the music business and make no money.
Yeah.
And he was exactly right. I mean, he was performing all the time. He had lots of adoration. He had hundreds of thousands of people following him on his social media, and he was just getting by, paycheck to paycheck.
Well,
And
I think we could unpack why that is, right? But part of it is, as a society, what we've decided to place a value on. So I could say, look at teachers, that so many that are so devoted to their craft. They love and raise children. They, they go to work, the same thing, right? Work hard at it. Maybe won Teacher of the Year award for the United States or the state of Georgia, which is where I am. And look what they're paid. And then we've got, professional athletes that make millions of dollars because of their physicality, and their drive. But again, many, many athletes that work their, asses off, frankly, and do everything right, still don't make a lot of money. Critical few at the top of the shop make a lot. So I think that situation also occurs, in many different walks of life. And I think that, some of that has to do with, we do generally, I think, have a messed up relationship with money and abundance, and feeling like, on some level, we don't either deserve it, or we don't actually believe that, that we can be successful and financially successful. And I see that with a lot of what you call sort of artistic or the arts or right brain people. Like, there's so many massively high creatives that are just so full in creativity and in their heart and in their passion. But when you flip them to the left brain side, or when you flip them to sort of that how to make money or how to, bring in money, they feel, very insecure in that capacity. So I think a lot of it, again, partly is what do we value and what do we spend money on? And the other part of it is, what is an individual person's, belief about money. And, I think a lot of us, there's a lot of people out there who just think it's hard to make money, and therefore it does become hard for them to make money.
Yeah, and the problem right now, particularly with the internet and with digital revolution, is that so much of this is now available DIY style.
Yes, it's free, right?
Yeah, everything. But the problem is now it requires the artist to manage his own affairs, which, like you said, doesn't always work out too well. It was always the tradition that great talent had a great manager behind them, and the manager would take care of the business side and allow the artist to just do what he did or she did.
Right.
But now it's not quite as prevalent that way, because you set up your own social media, you've got to do all of your PR work yourself, you've got to do this, that. It's a nightmare for some people.
And it becomes a weight. It becomes And if it's anything that's that hard, anything that there's that much resistance in, anything where there's that much struggle, right, is an energy or frequency, that's stuck, that's resistant, that's, can't move, can't flow. And that's, the nature, right, the nature of the universe is it's all frequency, everything's a vibration. And when you get in a stuck place like that, where you're in resistance, or where it's too hard, or where you don't know what to do, or you don't think you do, or you don't have the right talent around you, all of those things become, barriers that are hard to overcome until you change your belief system, right, about it, which is no easy thing to do, right? But it's possible, right? I mean, if one starving artist can make it, it's like the 4-minute mile. Like, if one can do it, others can do it too. But you got to understand the secret sauce around, what it takes to make that happen, right?
The one positive thing I will say about the DIY market for musicians and performing artists is that it is possible these days to make a living doing it, rather than the old feast or famine scenario, which was more prevalent back in the 60s, in the 70s.
Right.
I saw a statistic from a friend of mine who wrote a book called The New Music Business, where he said there are over 7,000 artists on Spotify, music artists, who are making a living. Now, if you go back to the 1960s and 1970s, there wasn't near 7,000 artists who were making a living in the music business.
Right.
You had a few at the top that were making millions, and the rest were making nothing. So,
well, and I think that's
a good thing.
And I think this young generation, to your point, like there's 15, 16-year-old kids. I mean, there's kids in college, this, right, in college dorm rooms that are starting businesses that are taking down, name brand companies because they believe they can, and they've got this skill set around technology and around, again, social media. So they don't know that they can't make $1 billion on a business on the internet out of their, college dorm room, and they're doing it. Pretty crazy when you think about it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg.
And then the flip side to that is you got a lot of kids that age who think if they haven't made $1 million by the time they're 30, that something's wrong with them. And, we've got that flip side, right, as well, where social media, is causing people to, lose sense of their true identity, because they want to create an avatar of who they are and put it out on social media, and then they compare, themselves to all the other avatars who you would think, looking at them, that these kids are all wildly successful. And of course, you and I know they're not. It could look that beautiful, but they still could be, to your point, eking out a living, regardless of what it looks like.
Well, that's true. And then, you take that environment and apply it to people who are looking for a significant other in that manner.
Right.
Oh my God. They're having this picture, like you said, of the avatar, and they think, oh, this person's wonderful. And then when they meet each other, it doesn't quite pan out to be exactly what was shown on their page.
And that's right. Yeah. And that's true with that's true with companies and businesses and leaders. Like, the only real game that's getting played, that's getting any results, is the inner game. It's really like not getting attached to validation and success and definition of who you are and what you came here to do and what success looks like by worldly standards, right? It's taking your power back from that illusion, that dream that's especially magnified because of social media today, and sitting on your own mat, right? And getting clear about, who you really are, what you really came here to do. It's back to that idea of getting at least in the lane that you're meant to be in, and then finding a way to love it and to love your life, by being who you were actually meant to be, who you really came here to be. And that's at least the first step of getting you on the path. It starts first with you. And, a lot of the work I do with leaders is kind of starts right there. It's, why are you doing what you're doing? Why does it even matter? What are you really up to? And are you happy? And I got to tell you, a lot of leaders are successful but not happy. And so who wins in that game?
What about the flip side of that? Can they be happy and not successful? I guess they wouldn't be there too long if the board decided that the measure of success was only the guy's happiness.
The answer to that's no, right? Your results have to, your intentions have to equal results, for sure.
Right.
And I think that's the point, though, of why so many aren't happy, though, is because they're serving that God, right? They're serving that results, machine that never turns off, and therefore they never get to turn off from what have you done for me lately? The pedal, their foot is to the pedal, to the metal of the car all day, every day. And we're just not meant to live our lives that way. I mean, it's not sustainable. There's a reason why, people are actually dying younger, not older. There's a reason why we have so many chronic health issues. And, the simple one-word answer to all of that is stress. It's pure, losing sight of how to navigate this changing world we live in and how to find ourselves and stay true to ourselves and stay within ourselves in a world that has so many ways to distract us and pull us out of that and make us fear-based and make us worry and make us think we can't, make us think we're not enough, and I could go on, right? And that's an inner game. Like, you got to first see that there's a big game being played that we're not winning, and then you got to figure out how to play it by a different set of rules.
Do you think we have the right to be happy?
100%. I not only think we have the right, but I actually think it is our birthright. I think we are born happy. I think children are naturally happy until somebody in authority or the world itself beats the shit out of them, and then they realize, well, maybe I shouldn't have been. Maybe I was wrong. Like, maybe life's really not meant to be fun. How many times do we give kids that message? Like, quit fooling around, sit up straight, make good grades, study hard. Like, we bombard ourselves from the time we're young with messages that life's not meant to be fun. And that's just, honestly, from where I sit, Douglas, that was the eye-opener that turned it all around for me, because the truth of it is, it was meant to be fun. You are meant to be happy. And why do we know that? It's what every single human being wants on the planet Earth. And when they say they want more money, and then you really say, well, why would somebody want more money? It's because they think they'll be happier by having it. And I've got news for you. I know a lot of people that don't have a lot of money that are wickedly happy. So happy is not a function of something you seek, or that an event or a circumstance or something material is going to give you. It's a function of your own ability to sit within yourself and live a life true to who you are.
I have to agree with you, because when I see films of these kids in India who are going in hordes to garbage dumps looking for food and rummaging through this filthy, disgusting trash, they're all smiling and laughing and playing.
And laughing.
Yeah.
Right. It's so interesting that you brought that example up, because my son's a professional athlete. He plays professional lacrosse for the Premier Lacrosse League. He has his own nonprofit called Give and Go, and he started it when he was 25. He's 29 now. And he goes around the world to underserved communities, and he takes the game of lacrosse, sticks and balls, and he uses the game to teach life skills and personal confidence and joy, in kids, and to build teamwork, right? And he's been to Nicaragua 3 times, and he keeps going back. And the kids that he works with their whole community is built around one of the largest garbage dumps in Nicaragua. And their families, the whole families go through the dump to find salvageable things. And then that's how they make their living. And he said, they live in these insane, like, clay huts, no running water, no electricity. And he goes, but you go out and you take these kids out there and you put a net up and you give them a stick and you give them balls and you teach them a game. And he goes, they are happier learning and playing this game than my private school Division I college kids are.
Oh, I believe
happier.
Yeah.
So happiness is not, we have come to define happiness as, requiring material success. But that's just a belief we hold that, honestly, is messing up a lot of people.
Well, when I see the kids like that, and then I see somebody in the United States whose day is completely ruined because their pool water turned green, I really have a hard time.
Right?
With
but
that
you have to have compassion for both. You have to have compassion for the and that's, again, I agree with you. I have a lot of compassion for people who, can't figure out and now are cynical that happiness is not even possible because they've gotten everything they thought they wanted or needed and they're still not happy, or they're massively financially successful. They're living in houses that would knock your eyes off and drive in, whatever car they want on the planet, but they have no relationship with their own grown children or their young children, or they're on their 3rd marriage, So there's a price to chasing something that you think is going to make you happy that is not the truth of who you are.
I would agree.
Which is, right? a soul that came here to grow fully into the truth of yourself, doing what you love with deep passion and in some service that serves all of us, right? That there's some element of happiness, true happiness, that requires connection to something greater than ourselves, that requires love, that requires, that what we do actually matters to somebody other than our own ego. And if you don't have that in your life, a lot of people don't know that's what they're missing until they come in contact with it. And then
or until it's too late. Some people never find it.
Well, right, exactly. Or until they just, die in Jill's world, they die and get to come back and try again, in another lifetime, right? But that's a cosmic conversation for probably another podcast.
Well, I think that's a good way to close the show because we just ran out of time, really. But the one question I did want to ask is, did we cover anything that you wanted to cover? Because we seem to have kind of gone off on a different tangent. I mean, it was very enjoyable, but...
well, here's I guess what I would leave you with is, I wrote my book, and I'll sum up if you give me a minute to do this, because I was really inspired to do it by my younger brother's journey, and I lost him after 4 years in a really ridiculously, indescribably hard cancer battle. Mm. And he traveled all over the world, was one of the most successful people in leadership that I know, doing the work that he did. And through his journey with that cancer battle, he and I spoke a lot. And in the end of that, he said, Jill, there are some things that have become clear to me about leadership and about life. And that's what my book's written around, and I'll leave you with that. But honestly, so much of what we've touched on is around that. I just didn't set it up that way. But essentially, he said, in many different ways and through a lot of conversations, simple is better, less is more. Be kind, always, regardless of the problems and challenges and differences of opinion. Life is supposed to be fun. It was actually meant to be fun. You don't really have any problems. You just think you do. But we came here to figure it out, right? To solve, to create, to innovate, to do different things, to struggle, to fall down and get up again. Like, that's the game. That's the game we came to play. And that's the game leaders came to lead other people through. And lastly, joy is all around you. Like, happiness comes from you outside. It's everywhere. And he would say it's the smell of coffee in the morning. It's hearing your kid laugh. It's seeing your team win a game. It's somebody who thanks you because you really helped them that day. Like, it's all around us. And all we do is see the misery and the problems of the world. We fail to notice that it really is all good. So those were some of his lessons to me, and I've incorporated them into my work in leadership. So that's my takeaway. And again, short conversation, but I just appreciate any opportunity to share those messages.
Well, great. And your book is called Leadership Through Trust and Collaboration. What is your website?
It's my name, Jill Ratliff, leadership.com.
Great.
Very easy.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking. It was nice meeting you. And best of luck with the book.
And best of luck to you, and just keep doing what